communication charges, and decrease in revenue. I'm Rodri Smith. Coming up, I will tell you about Elon Musk shaking up Twitter.
If you've been grocery shopping lately, you've seen the spike in food prices. I'm Demetrius Travis Rose, and I'll show you how some people are getting help to put food on their table.
The San Jose State men's basketball team is back on the court. Coming up, we show you how the team fared in a home opener against Georgia Southern. Those stories and more on this week's edition of Update News.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at San Jose State University, your source for what's happening with a fresh perspective on today's issues. You're watching Update News.
Welcome to Update News. I'm Demetrius Travis Rose.
And I'm Rodri Smith. We begin with the news of more layoffs at Bay Area tech companies. Facebook just announced it's laying off more than 11,000 of its employees. That is 13% of its workforce last week. Twitter laid off half of its workers, only to call some of them back. The laid off Twitter workers have filed a lawsuit, and Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, says the company is hemorrhaging money.
Just days after laying off some 3,700 employees, half of its workforce, Twitter apparently discovered the layoffs went a bit too far. The news site Platform was the first to report the company is calling some workers, asking them to come back. And that's just the beginning of its troubles. Laid-off workers are suing Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, claiming he did not follow the law when terminating them.
I know his style. His style is old management, old classical management, which is seeing is believing. No borders on one time. But that's not going to work with the new generation. It's not going to work with the new style we are seeing, especially after COVID.
On November 4th, Musk tweeted about the company having a decrease in revenue, losing practically $4 million a day, as to why he had to lay off a bunch of his staff.
And the platform is losing users, more than 1 million since Musk took the reins. That estimate is from Bot Sentinel, a firm that tracks Twitter's behavior. Some are protesting the new $8 a month fee for a verified account. Big-name companies are also putting a pause on their advertising dollars. Musk claims activist groups are pressuring those advertisers, but some observations say it was Musk himself who was criticizing Twitter when he wanted to go back out of the $44 billion deal.
He tried to get out of that by slandering the platform, saying how filled with bots and how bad the platform was. And then after a while, he was forced to buy it.
So where is this all heading? With Musk in charge, will Twitter sink or swim?
For me, it's one of two things. Either it's going to go the way of MySpace or the way of WhatsApp. So if it goes the way of MySpace, we're going to forget about Twitter. If he managed to take it to the way of WhatsApp, which is growing and growing, then we're going to hear a different story from Elon Musk.
The estimate is that about 900 Twitter workers are affected here in the Bay Area. We don't know yet how many local Facebook employees are affected, but a handful of other companies are also handing out pink slips. The tech sector is a major engine of the Bay Area economy. So how will this affect layoffs? Joining us now for some perspective on this topic is San Jose State's Professor of Accounting and Finance, Matthew Faulkner. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with how many tech layoffs may be affected in the Bay Area's economy.
So in the short term, those that were affected by the layoffs are obviously probably slowing down their spending. The economy's, in that sense, is going to see a slowdown. Those that were fortunate enough to not lose their jobs in this round of layoffs will also be more cognizant of the potential safety nets that they'll have in place or want to keep working to put in place in their household finances. As a whole, the Bay Area has been such a great place for innovation, a pretty great place to work in the corporate environment. I think this is a speed bump in the coming out of COVID and the many crazy things going on in the world. But I think that the Bay Area is in a good place to continue in the long run in a positive.
What are the businesses that depend on tech that may also be affected?
So this one's going to be tough to measure out the ripple effects of how a tech company may affect other companies that utilize. So if you're utilizing a platform of some of these companies that are having tech layoffs, I'd imagine they'll keep operating the way they are. So the short-term effects of a company that likes to use Meta's platform for whatever reason will still be able to continue to do so. I think it speaks to the broader expectations of the economy that as these big tech companies are laying off people, all around the country, we're hearing about hiring freezes, that there's a moment of trying to grasp what does the economy look like, what is our future expectations, and what is the employment we need for the company, that everyone is in a position of recognizing what the future could look like. And it's a pausing moment right now. I'd say a broader question would also be, are they necessary? Are they needed? And speaking directly to the Twitter acquisition, where kind of kicked off a lot of these layoffs, where half the workforce was laid off. Companies are built to operate to create value for their owners. They're also, part of them are built to operate to create a work environment and a nice social, environmental, or governance, benefits to those in their community and those around the world. So they're trying to balance both, where I truly believe none of these CEOs or none of these owners want to lay off anybody, but they're seeing it as, in order to keep the business running successfully, they have to.
Silicon Valley used to be thought as a somewhat of a recession-proof. Is that still the case?
To the first question, I think that the Bay Area is always an attractive place to be, not only because the tech companies are here, but it is really a great place to live. We have great weather. We have lots to do. We have some really awesome places within driving distance. So it's an attractive place to be. On top of that, it's also an attractive place to be for the innovation, being a part of something bigger, being a part of companies that we use in our day-to-day lives and find out that we work for them is a really neat place to be. So I don't know if anywhere is ever recession proof. Obviously the dot-com bubble had its major flaws here in the late 90s. But what I guess the resiliency of Silicon Valley and the innovation to keep pushing forward, I would say, keeps maybe the sentiment of Silicon Valley being recession proof alive, that it will come out from this, the tech layoffs. We've had excessive hiring, which was great for a lot of people. We've seen some drawbacks now, which is unfortunate. But at the end of the day, there will continue to be innovations, and those skill sets that those employees had developed at those tech companies are going to be deployable at other places that are still looking to hire good quality talent, and they'll find their ways and hopefully find them quickly into new roles and new places that they can call work home.
You've probably noticed that food prices are skyrocketing. The estimate is your turkey dinner will cost you 14% more this Thanksgiving. But things are even harder for people on limited incomes, including students, and more of them are looking for help just to keep food on their table. It only takes a few minutes in the grocery store to see just how expensive food is these days. Everything costs more, and you end up digging a little deeper in your wallet. But imagine you're a student. Money is tight anyway, and with soaring prices, it's getting harder and harder to feed yourself. San Jose State has a food pantry, and organizers say it's clear more and more students are experiencing food insecurity.
The last 2 months that we have had at the Spartan Food Pantry have broken records both months. The month of September was the highest it had been at that point, and then we broke that record in October. Students are struggling right now.
Before gaining the benefits of CalFresh, students have turned to the food pantry as a resolution to their food insecurity. Some students are turning to state and federal food programs to put food on the table.
Grocery prices are going up, and I tend to limit myself every week of what I'm spending. Like, for example, I don't get that much food stamps, so I tend to limit myself to $50 per week.
Some students say it isn't hard to find others who are also applying for food assistance through the CalFresh program.
I'm actually in the application process of it. I know a good amount of people that have CalFresh. I feel like if I would be accepted and get that additional money for food, it would help me out tremendously, and I basically wouldn't be food insecure. So
it gets recharged every other month. At times it can run out because you know, food's expensive.
And students are not alone. The California Association of Food Banks says on average, 1 out of every 5 Californians doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. That's about 8 million people. The cost of traveling this holiday is way up too. If you haven't already bought a plane ticket to travel for Thanksgiving, you may be in for sticker shock. That round-trip airfare will cost you an estimated 43% more than last year. Experts say that's because of higher fuel prices, fewer scheduled flights, and pent-up travel demand, all of which have left some people grounded. How are students getting home for the holiday? That's this week's question in State of the Spartans.
Yes, with Thanksgiving around the corner, I look forward to figuring out ways to get to Ben Lomond, California from San Francisco. It's a little bit of an arduous trip via mass transit. I don't own a car. It'll be about $20 via the Caltrain and the 17 bus, and it'll take about 3 hours. But I am looking forward to a relatively short and relatively accessible trip to visit my family this Thanksgiving.
So I live in Tracy. It's an hour and 30 east, but I do have a car, and I am planning on traveling back home for Thanksgiving. But yeah, it is kind of difficult to go back home. Mainly it's for like gas prices, because gas is expensive, and so like going there and back does take a toll on my bank account. So that's one of the things I would like to say I would struggle going back home.
Yeah, so I do plan on traveling for Thanksgiving, and fortunately and gratefully, I don't have any super challenging obstacles in terms of getting back home. I don't live too far away from San Jose, probably like a 45-minute drive. However, I do know some of my friends who are a little bit further and have to fly or take longer transportations back home. And I think it's important to do your part in making sure that they're supported and they have the resources they need to be able to get back home, or at least just being there for them, especially for the holidays.
When we come back.
Coming up, we'll take you to see how the Campbell community comes together in a march for safety. Having problems finding a daycare near campus? Find out about the services and more coming up.
I'm Carson Wells, and coming up, I'll tell you why you might be wanting one of these this weekend.
Election day is in our rearview mirror, but the race for San Jose mayor is still close to call. The latest information on the votes tallies has San Jose City Council member Matt Mahan with a slight lead over Santa Clara County Supervisor Cindy Chavez. About 4,000 votes separate the two candidates. Mahan is a relatively newcomer who has backing the San Jose's current mayor. The Registrar of Voters is still processing lots of ballots. Voters have their options of dropping their ballots in the mail, even on election day. Could we have the final results numbers soon? We'll keep you posted. It will be the first time San Jose has a new mayor in 8 years. Current mayor Sam Liccardo serves 2 terms.
A follow-up now to a tragic story we first brought you back in September. An 8-year-old child was struck and killed in a crosswalk near his school. This past weekend, his community came together to push for safer streets. Reporter Sandy Santos has that story.
Dozens of families took to Winchester Boulevard, escorted by police and community service officers. Many were holding signs with messages for drivers in the area. Signs that read, "Drive safely" and "Children crossing."
Campbell and Winchester community has come together to ask public officials to take actions into the unsafe roads here in the Campbell community.
On September 16, 8-year-old Jacob Villanueva was struck and killed while in a crosswalk. The third grader was on his way to Castlemont Elementary School. The school is on the border of the cities of San Jose and Campbell. At the rally following the march, community members expressed their sorrow to Jacob's family and their commitment to safer streets.
Every day I wake up and I feel sick to my stomach. Every day I cry. And we did what we could. We didn't make it. September 16th never should have happened. There wasn't a stop sign. There's no speed bumps, no crossing guard, not a single school zone sign.
I really think it is very important for the city to support us when crossing the street, especially when the kids coming to school to learn and see that kind of behavior that sometimes adults don't pay attention, don't drive carefully.
Marchers urge officials of both San Jose and Campbell to commit to making the streets near schools safer for children.
In the Cadillac neighborhood, my children walk in the streets with insecurity. There is no good street lighting in the neighborhood. There's a lot of insecurity that we have.
It breaks my heart, that a tragedy would have to happen for us to take action. But I will let you know that I will do my very best and work with you to make things better for the community.
In Campbell, this is Andy Santos for Opti News.
If you've looked for childcare lately, you know just how expensive it can be. San Jose ranks in the top 3 most expensive daycare programs. Families pay more than $1,700 a month for an infant. San Jose State is trying to help those students who are starting families of their own. The Associated Students Organization is working with Child Development Center. The daycare is right next to the campus. It accepts children as young as 4 months to age 5. The daycare program runs full-time, and the student parents who might need financial help can apply for assistance.
Yeah, I think it's a really important service to have. I think especially here in the Bay Area where it's a lot of working class families. And sometimes childcare service is really expensive and a lot of families can't afford to do it. So I think that the university offering it for free is really important and really just kind of contributes to the success that faculty and students, kind of need.
For more information on how to apply for the daycare program, go to the Associate Student Affairs website and look up for the.
Should you start digging out your cold weather gear, especially for the early mornings? Carson Wells has your forecast.
I'm Carson with the weather. A very active start to the week with wind, rain, and thunderstorms. We're now expecting a bit of a break on Thursday and Friday before more wind and rain chances return for the weekend. The futurecast shows rain chances increasing into Saturday with showers ongoing into Sunday. This next storm may access a boost from an atmospheric river setup, meaning high rain rates at times, especially near the coastal mountains, as these rain totals show. Temperatures likely won't be quite as cold as what we saw earlier in the week, but unsettled conditions are expected in Santa Cruz this weekend. And now we're moving on to the 7-day forecast. In Santa Cruz, on Saturday and Sunday, we are expecting temperatures to be into the mid to high 50s. On Saturday, temperatures expect to be 56, and on Sunday, we're looking at 59 degrees. As for Oakland, they should also expect to see rain chances to start off the weekend, but temperatures will also be in the mid to high 50s, with Saturday being 59 and Sunday being 61. Looking at San Francisco, we are expecting more rain this weekend, but it's also going to be in the high 50s, low 60s, with 59 on Saturday, 60 on Sunday. For San Jose, temperatures will be in the low 60s with rain continuing on, with Saturday being 60, Sunday 62, but not a whole lot of rain expected for next week. Back to you in the studio.
When we come back.
we take a closer look at No Shave November and the real meaning behind it.
It's a fresh start for the San Jose State men's basketball team. I'm Jesus Telitude. Just ahead, I'll take you inside the Spartans home opener.
At San Jose State, we really do learn by doing. This is my first semester working on our award-winning newspaper, the Spartan Daily. But my whole time here really has been about real-world skill building. Professors like Diane Gurazi continue their work in journalism while bringing that knowledge back to us in the classroom each semester. Then we're on the Spartan Daily, Update News, or the Spear. We get to put all that into practice. We even get to work with cutting-edge tools like our new VR lab, where we get to learn new ways of real storytelling using 3D virtual reality.
Our students have many opportunities to work in newsrooms that function like the ones they will encounter in their professional careers. Here in Update News, for instance, we produce a weekly show that is aired on local access television in San Jose, and we produce video news that is digital first. Students will get experience as producers, anchors, and field reporters.
The Spartan Daily, our award-winning student newspaper, has not missed a scheduled publication date in more than 80 years and remains one of the longest-standing papers of its kind in the Western United States. Through classroom instruction and our newsroom labs, we give our students the tools to succeed and create their own bright futures. Learn by doing. If you're interested in joining our program, visit our website for more information.
Put down your razors and get a little bit scruffy. No Shave November is back, and it's all for a really good cause. Reporter Carson Well reminds us how cancer fundraisers came about.
No Shave November got underway more than a decade ago. The Chicago-based Hill family started it after their father, Matthew, passed away from colon cancer in November of 2007.
They wanted to do something to honor his memory and raise funds for cancer research and education and awareness. And they decided to start No Shave November as a Facebook group. And it started off as a really small thing. There were about 50 people that were invited to be a part of it. And it went viral and people really resonated with the message and they wanted to join in.
The No Shave November organization has raised more than $13 million for cancer to date. The plan is pretty simple. Participants stop shaving during November, and they donate the money they save on shaving products to cancer charities. The participants also have to embrace their body hair, something many cancer patients lose during treatment.
In India, I used to do a lot. I just came to United States this year, so yeah, definitely excited to join.
The organizers have another goal. They want to educate the public about cancer in an effort to help end it.
And recently we launched a newsletter initiative, which sounds basic, but we're really excited by it because we're taking this really tough to understand cancer research that's coming out, that's being published by doctors and researchers, and we're really reformatting it and rewriting it into quick synopses that the average person can understand, that you don't need a medical degree or a PhD.
If you are interested in being a part of No Shave November, go to noshave.org to donate to their cause. In San Jose, I'm Carson Wells, Update News.
Men's basketball is officially in full swing at San Jose State. Jesus Telitude is here with the highlights from their first game and an update on women's soccer too.
Yes, women's soccer is, they have a lot to say and a lot to be proud of for sure. But first, the men's basketball team opened its season at home against Georgia Southern. And after an offseason of retooling the roster, head coach Tim Miles and his squad are ready to prove they're the team to beat in the Mountain West Conference.
The Spartans are back to hooping on the hardwood. It was opening night for the San Jose State men's basketball team at home. The players and fans were fired up to get the season underway.
Come on!
SGSU jumped to an early lead against Georgia Southern and never let up. The Spartan defense tortured the Eagles all night, holding them to an abysmal 27% shooting from the field. The Spartan offense picked up in the second half thanks to guards Alvaro Cardenas and Omari Moore, both finishing the game with 14 points. SJSU put the game to bed in the final minutes with an emphatic lob to Sage Tolbert III to secure the first win of the year for the Spartans.
Despite this being the Spartans' first game of the season, the team chemistry is already strong. 5 players are returning from last season, including Omari Moore and Alvaro Cardenas. They said that chemistry is what's making the team dangerous to face this season.
I think our whole team really wanted to send a message. I think that last year we didn't accomplish nearly what we wanted to. So I think it was important for all of us to, get out there and send a message to, the rest of the conference, the whole United States, really college basketball. Like, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year.
Head coach Tim Miles was all smiles after the game. He's in his second year coaching at SJSU and said he noticed the impact Spartan Nation can have on games.
Here's the great part about the students at SJSU. They can impact winning. They really can. They can come participate. If you go out and go to a movie, you're $20 light, right? You go out to the bar, you come back with a headache. You come back after tonight's win and you cheered for this team. You walk home and you participated and you helped us, and you're not 20 light or a headache. So it's a great thing for everybody, and they can really make a difference.
Now let's shift gears, starting with the women's soccer team, who made history by winning the Mountain West Championship for the first time since 2018.
SJSU defeated Wyoming in a penalty shootout. It finished 6-5 after goalkeeper Bennett Pierno made this diving save to clinch the game and the title. Pierno was later named the tournament's most valuable player. Here's first-year head coach Tina Estrada on the monumental win.
Wow, unreal, unbelievable season. I'm so incredibly proud of this group to really overcome so much adversity this year, from last year, to grow, to stick together. I mean, it was unreal to get regular season champs, to come away at a tournament and not get a bye and play 3 games in altitude. It just speaks volumes to this team's grit.
The team will now face Stanford on Friday in the NCAA Women's Soccer Tournament. It's only the 3rd time the Spartans qualified for the tournament, the last being in 2018. The football team is going bowling. That's right, the Spartans officially secured eligibility for a bowl game later in the season after defeating Colorado State 28-16. Quarterback Chevin Cordero led the way with 274 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was the defense that showed out, finishing the game with 2 interceptions and 9 sacks, a team high this season.
SJSU now hits the road to take on San Diego State Saturday night. And that's all I have for you for this week's San Jose State Sports Update.
Great, thank you for that.
If sporting events aren't your thing, there's plenty more to do. From classical music to an off-Broadway theater production, here's Carson's calendar.
Here's what's coming up this week. On November 11th, Into the Woods opens at the Hammer Theater. Opening night starts at 7:30 p.m. and showtimes continue on this weekend and next weekend. Come learn more about the Journalism Mass Communications Department at the JMC Outreach event on November 12th. The event goes from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and there will be free food and swag. On November 14th, the SJSU Woodwind Department players present Chamber Music Night. The event goes from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Music Building Concert Hall 176. Here's what's coming up in athletics. On November 11th, men's water polo plays Pacific at home at 1 p.m. On November 12th, men's basketball takes on Bethesda at 1 p.m. at home. And on November 13th, women's basketball takes on Cal State Fullerton at 2 p.m., also at home. That's all for this week.
And that does it for this week's edition of Update News.
For all of us here, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
And if you want to keep up with the latest news at San Jose State and the Bay Area, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.